What's up, guys, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. Our first question comes from Phil N., who asks if the Sith could be alive during the sequel trilogy, hiding out somewhere in the unknown regions.
I don't think so. That's something that they did in Star Wars Legends, and it's something that I didn't really like, was that the Sith kept coming back over and over and over. And that's kind of the point of the Chosen One prophecy, is that Anakin was meant to destroy the Sith. So, I don't know, if the Sith kept coming back, it felt like, well, what was that prophecy all about?
Yeah. I don't know. They could be hiding anywhere.
So you think that there's a possibility that they could come back down the line?
Sure. Why not?
I mean, yeah, I guess there's a possibility. I just don't think I would like that idea.
Yeah, I don't think so, but...
I like that Snoke and Kylo Ren are something different. We don't know what, but they're not Sith.
Do you think we'll ever see pure blood Sith from Star Wars, like TV, movies?
If they go into old times, I think there's potential for that. But I also don't know if that's going to still be a thing in canon. Like, that could just have been an old Legends thing that they're going to leave. Because right now, all we know about the Sith Order is that they splintered off from the Jedi. And that's pretty much still true in Legends. And then they found the Sith pure blood species. And then they named them after themselves. But yeah, I think my gripe is more with the Chosen One prophecy period. I never really liked that they gave that to Anakin. That he just kept getting more and more important, where in the first movie, he's just like an Imperial enforcer. Mm-hmm. And then in the second movie, he's just like Luke's father, who is a bad guy. And then in the third movie, that's kind of when they get a little more into the master apprentice stuff. But then you jump to the prequel trilogy and it's like, oh, he's the chosen one of prophecy. And it's like, I kind of preferred it where Anakin was just like some Jedi who fell to the dark side, and he didn't need this grand backstory.
Yeah, the prophecy thing just kind of, I don't know, like closed off some doorways that they could have gone through.
That's the only reason I think that the Sith shouldn't come back, is to, like, appease this prophecy. Whereas if it had never been made, then I'd be like, yeah, sure, bring the Sith back, who cares?
Jeff Rushing wants to know if we'll ever see Octo again. I think so, just because porgs.
That's your reasoning? I mean, yes, that's a good reasoning for marketing alone.
Unless the porgs that were on the Millennium Falcon are still there and they just hang out there, but I don't see why they wouldn't show it again.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think we're going to see it in episode 9, but I would be shocked if we never visited Octo again, especially thousands of years prior. Like, at some point, we're going to explore the origins of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And we're going to see Octo in its prime.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's a reason why Luke went there, and that's a whole story that we don't know yet. So.
I mean, we kind of know. He just went to die where the Jedi began.
But, like, where the Jedi began, we haven't seen that story.
Yeah, right.
So. J. Diff asks how much time has passed between issues 20 and 23 of the Darth Vader comics, because we see the transition from clone trooper armor to stormtrooper armor, the introduction of TIE fighters, and more.
We don't know, and I think it's left purposely vague, because I don't think that Lucasfilm fully knows how long that transition took. But yeah, I would expect that those issues, especially issue 23, that's where we see Momin build like 9 different designs of Vader's castle. And it's like from the ground up every time, all the way to them testing it out. So that doesn't happen overnight. I would have to imagine that each build took months to a year, maybe longer. So yeah, I think that's a long time.
Yeah.
I would expect, I don't know, 6 months at least for each design. Just a guess.
Yeah. The Bobby Lynn wants to know what has been our highlight of the Star Wars fandom, similar to the question that we asked each other in the Beyond the Stars episode about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I think my highlight right now is Celebration last year. That was our first time going, and I didn't really know what to expect, and it blew me away how much fun it was.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Because, like, we go to Dragon Con every year, and that's a convention of a bunch of different fandoms, but Celebration is all Star Wars, and just going there was like, oh, this is our people.
Yeah.
This is where we belong.
Which is similar to Dragon Con, but it's even more focused. Because, like, yeah, Dragon Con, it's like you're surrounded by nerds, and that's fun. But Star Wars, it's like, we are surrounded by people who are here for one thing.
Yeah.
To celebrate this one thing.
Yeah.
And it's so, I don't know, the energy of that is just intoxicating.
Yeah, and it's so nice to see entire families go to stuff like that. And all the people that we met and the people that recognized us was like mind-blowing at the time.
Wasn't expecting that at all. And then we just get to see people that we don't get to see all that often, like people that we talk to online.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is one time a year where we're all in the same place and we get to hang out and catch up. We met Sarah Michelle Gellar. I met Garrick Hagon, Biggs. So like there were
our idols.
It was just like this weekend of cool things happening, and yeah, I think that has to be the answer. I can't wait for next year's celebration.
Yeah, I still can't believe it's going to be 5 days.
Yeah, I think they're gonna reveal a lot. Like, I think that content-wise, this is gonna be a huge year.
Which makes me excited, but also I hope that we're not too busy to be able to experience Chicago, because we've been talking about going to Chicago for a long time, but
yeah,
we'll probably be
I don't want to be making
busy.
videos the entire time, but we'll probably do something more like this, where we just like go to a panel and then pop out and then record us talking about it, and then we'll go do something else, so we're not editing all 5 days.
Yeah, or during panels.
Yeah, which I did last time.
Tyler Williams asks what our Christmas wish list is for episode 9. If we could write a letter to JJ with all of our hopes and dreams, what would be on it?
Mr. JJ Claus.
Mr. JJ, just make everybody happy. No.
No, that's a good... Can we just not fight about this
one? Just do it right. Just do it right. No, I'm kidding. Man, it would take me a while to write a list like that, but off the top of my head, I would say I want to see more Force powers. Not necessarily different Force powers, but I want to see people using the Force more.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to see Kylo Ren do something badass, and I want to see Rey, training more and just exploring more into her own powers and stuff.
Pretty much every movie has introduced something new about the Force, so I expect we will get something along those lines.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be cool.
Yeah, lots of, I don't know, all throne room scenes. The whole movie.
The whole movie is just throne room scene after throne room scene.
Yeah.
I think Force Ghost Con is still my number one wish. I mean, like, I want all 3 trilogies to be tied together into one. I still really want to see Kylo Ren go to Mustafar. I think that would be a great way to tie prequels to sequels.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I'd love to revisit like Jeddah or something. That, I don't know why, but that would feel like legitimizing a non-saga film within the saga. I think that would be really cool. Although doing Darth Vader's castle would be kind of along those same lines.
Mm-hmm.
I'd still love to see Rey with a double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah. I popped into Jedi Council today on Collider for a few minutes, and they were talking about who they wanted to see team up in 9, and they mentioned Rey and Poe teaming up to do something, because we've gotten Rey and Finn, and we've gotten Finn and Rose. And
yeah, that's a new matchup.
I don't know. Yeah, the idea kind of intrigued me, because like Poe's gonna be in charge of something, yeah, like most of the Resistance stuff,
I guess,
and Rey's gonna be in charge of figuring out who she is and what she's gonna do with being a Jedi.
Yeah, I will say I hope that here's something for the wish list, something big battle wise. Like, we just haven't seen that as much in the sequel trilogy. So A big fight, I think, would be really cool.
On the ground or in space?
Both. Something like the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
Starkiller Base was kind of like that, but I want something more large scale where it's not just like a strike team on the ground made of 3 people.
Yeah. I want to see Lando come in and just bring an army with him.
Yeah.
That he's just kind of like, hey guys, I've got this.
Like, it could be the battle droids you've talked about, or even something like the Smugglers Guild, which happens in the original Thrawn trilogy. They kind of gather a group of scum and villainy people who are like, oh, we don't want the Empire back. Mm-hmm. And so they help join the fight. So something like that could be cool.
Or we've talked about the First Order stormtroopers kind of like revolting.
Yeah, that's something on my wish list, I think. Like, I'd be okay if it didn't happen because it's a very high concept thing, but I think it would be a great way for Finn to really, like, have his arc complete. Because the first time seeing The Last Jedi, I was like, him sacrificing himself for the Resistance is a great way to tie off his arc. But now I'm like, oh, if he didn't die there, then it would be nice if he were meant to survive for something much bigger that would, like, straight up end the war. So yeah, I've got a lot of wish list things, I guess, but if none of them happen, it's all right. Trying to be responsible here.
Yeah, and then the last thing I can think of that I probably wouldn't have to put on the wish list, because I assume JJ's already got this covered, but just giving Leia a good, I don't know, ending. Yeah,
I think that's probably on everyone's minds. Like, how are they going to do that? How will they integrate her? Yeah, that's going to be a huge challenge. I guess I'm preparing myself to give him a little slack, because he is limited in what he can do, but yeah, I hope it does work. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon, where we left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained content, and this week we put out our behind-the-scenes video for November, and our Clone Wars commentary for the week is Clone Cadets, which is a great episode. I was glad we got to rewatch that one again.
Yeah. On to YouTube questions. Darth Awesome asks how the galaxy went from believing the Jedi were traitors to believing that they were heroes so quickly after the Battle of Jakku.
I think it's kind of the same reason as they went from being heroes to traitors after Revenge of the Sith. I think it probably has a lot to do with government propaganda and what they were being told.
Yeah.
I mean, the writers of history are the victors, I think is close to an actual saying. But yeah, I mean, I think that they were just being told by people that they trusted that the Jedi were traitors, and so we killed them all. And then when the Empire was defeated, they learned the truth. But I guess we still don't really know what the galaxy at large thought of the Jedi at that point in time.
I mean, we know from, like, the Legends of Luke Skywalker book that Luke became this legend, and I feel like as time went on and people told stories to their kids and grandkids and stuff, they weren't saying, oh, there were these beings that had magical powers, but they were bad, so they got slaughtered.
Yeah.
They're probably telling them they were these heroes and, like, saviors almost, and I think, I don't know, through time and storytelling, they just got back up to hero status.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially when you think so at the end of Revenge of the Sith, people are coming off of 3 years of war, and then the Empire has brought peace, and so they're grateful for that. They're probably inclined to believe the Empire, but then they're under, like, 20 years of kind of harsh rule.
Oppression.
Yeah, and by that point in time, they're probably like, all right, things were better with the Jedi.
Boy, I wish we had those Jedis.
Yeah. So, which planet was that person from? What's that accent from?
Huh? Christophsis?
Okay. So, yeah, I think that it was just a matter of time of living under oppression, where they're like, we need the Jedi back.
Yeah.
So once Luke came back, they were like, yeah, we're ready.
Carbonite Hunter wants to know why nobody mentions midichlorians after the Phantom Menace. Because no one wants to.
I mean,
I'm kidding.
I think it's because of the initial reaction to them.
It presented an explanation on one hand, but also so many questions.
Well, it was an explanation that we didn't need, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Force works better when it's more mystical. I don't mind it, like, being completely mystical and not biological in any way. I mean, I was someone that when they were starting to talk about midichlorians, and I was 12, I was like, wait, what? Like, I was not into it. But
Yeah.
like other things, if there's something in the Star Wars universe that I don't like, it's like, okay, you just kind of accept that it's part of it now and move on. And like, hopefully going forward, I mean, I'm okay that they don't mention it all the time. If they brought it up again, if episode 9 talks about midichlorians, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I'm also not upset that they don't mention them really at all. And maybe it's like a lot of the new storytelling, like maybe Luke doesn't know about midichlorians and he's just not focused on that stuff.
Yeah, it could be something that just during the prequel era was something that they paid more attention to when they had the Jedi Temple and they were training, new Padawans and stuff like that. Because, like, how else would they have been able to explain the kidnapping, basically, Anakin to train him?
I mean, that's just the way. It wasn't a kidnapping. They offered, and Shmi was like, okay.
Well, yeah, but only because they did the blood test.
I think it was something where they just wanted a way to show that Anakin, we're coming back to the Chosen One prophecy, they wanted to show that Anakin was so super special, and he has a huge midichlorian count, and wait, what's a midichlorian count? We have to explain that now. So again, I think that stems from just wanting Anakin to be like this incredibly special being, whereas in the original trilogy, he wasn't really. He was just a guy that fell to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I also think we've seen people talk about how the midichlorians are kind of a sign that the Jedi lost their way. They weren't focused on the spiritual. They were focused on the biological and the medical. And they're like, how do we know that this person deserves to be trained? Give him a blood test. And it's like, if your midichlorian count isn't high enough, but you really want to be a Jedi, too bad.
Yeah, a lot of stuff about the prequels is very much about the biological side, like cloning, taking someone's DNA and making clones to fight the war. And
I think George Lucas had a lot to say about that stuff, and I just don't feel like the prequels communicated that very well, like what he wanted. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as whether or not it's ever going to be brought up again, I don't know that there's a reason to bring it up again.
I think they were mentioned in From a Certain Point of View. I think Qui-Gon talks about them a little bit, but yeah, it's just their references are very few and far between, and I think they'll probably stay that way. They'll pop in here and again, but it's not going to be like a huge part of Star Wars.
An anonymous guy who comments asks if we think the Republic will be restored again in Episode 9, or will it be replaced by something new?
I don't know. I don't think they're going to focus on it that much. Like, no matter what, I don't know. If the Republic is restored again, I'm going to be like, okay, well, this is just Return of the Jedi all over. I don't know. I kind of hope it ends on a uncertain note in a way, like a hopeful but not concrete thing.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like the end of Solo with Enfys Nest being like, this is our little spark of hope.
Yeah, I hope that they focus more on the smaller story, I guess, the Skywalkers and what they meant to the galaxy and how they wound up affecting it. I think that's the story of the Skywalker saga. And while, yeah, it's set against the landscape of this changing political structure, I don't really want them to focus on that because, I don't know, no matter what they do, I feel like I'm not going to be fully satisfied with it, so...
I don't think they'll have time in Episode 9 to talk about politics that much. Like, they gotta wrap up the Skywalker story, wrap up, Rey and Kylo and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if they'll even really touch on the restoration of the Republic in Episode 9. Maybe down the line somewhere else, but...
Yeah. I'm sure we'll find out eventually. I'm okay if they don't really focus on that. I mean, the sequel trilogy at large, I think they should have spent a little more time on it in The Force Awakens, but
Yeah.
the sequel trilogy has not been that concerned with what's going on politically. It's a more intimate story.
Maybe Claudia Gray will do another kind of like Bloodline type book post episode 9, kind of explaining, okay, what happens now? Maybe Lando is the president of the universe.
There we go. I'm down with it.
Cool. Ben Flink wants to know who our favorite canon author is. Well, I just mentioned her, Claudia Gray.
Yeah, I'm the same. Claudia Gray is my favorite.
Yeah. Do you have a second favorite? Because I know we've talked about Claudia Gray and sung her praises quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, she just hasn't written a bad book, not that I've seen.
Yeah.
I've
Lost
loved
Stars,
all of her books.
Lost Stars, Bloodline. I'd say Delilah Dawson's probably my second favorite. Or Timothy Zahn.
I mean, Timothy Zahn's like a classic.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a given at this point because he's such a mainstay.
I guess it does say canon, so he's written
canon books.
Canon, but
and Thrawn Alliances is one of, or not Thrawn Alliance, the first Thrawn book is like probably my tied for top or second favorite canon book. Didn't like Thrawn Alliances as much, but the first Thrawn I think is fantastic. So
I'm looking up here.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I am enjoying all the female authors, like E.K. Johnston. I really liked the Ahsoka book, and I'm really looking forward to the Padme book.
Yeah, and Delilah Dawson, you mentioned, I don't know, I feel a little bit biased on that one, since that was like our first big video was based off of her short story, and it doesn't hurt that, like, we have met all of these authors, not to name drop, like, they're all super nice,
Yeah.
So it's hard to say anything, like, where they're all my favorites, but Claudia Gray has written the most books that I have read and loved. So, I don't know. The other guys just need to write more so that they can...
And a lot of those people that we mentioned are going to be coming to Celebration, so hopefully we get to talk to some of them.
Oh, I didn't mention Christy Golden at all, but I really enjoy her books too. I don't know. The way she writes is very exciting.
Yeah. She's like a pro. Like, she
writes so much.
Yeah, and she writes fast. She wrote Inferno Squad fairly quickly,
as far as I know,
after like the idea came about for the story mode in the game. But yeah. Pablo Sanchez Levaois asks why Lando acts so surprised when he sees the Millennium Falcon impounded in Solo: A Star Wars Story, even though he sees it impounded in the comic Lando: Double or Nothing.
I mean, you said it yourself. He's acting surprised.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, what?
Who's done this? I am definitely going to have words with someone about this.
Yeah, he's totally putting an act on so that he can then be like, well, you have experience with these kinds of things. Why don't you just go ahead and take that off so we can get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, he says, like, I keep my ship locked up and we need L3 to cut her way into it. And then, he's just bringing a bunch of criminals to his impounded ship so they can break his impounded ship out and they can leave. Like, that's all that's going on.
Yeah, he's just trying to be smooth, and it's working.
I guess it worked on Pablo. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.